Today, we will explore an action, adventure and fantasy film released in 2014 titled Hercules. The story begins in 358 BC, on the coast of Macedonia, north of Greece. A storyteller named Iolaus of Athens was captured by pirates. To stall for time, Iolaus tells the pirates the legend of his famous uncle, Hercules. Hercules is the son of Zeus, the king of the gods, and a mortal woman named Alcmene. However, Zeus's wife, the goddess Hera, sees Hercules' existence as an affront and tries to kill him. But Hercules carries the divine blood of Zeus, making him nearly impossible to defeat. When he grows up, the gods assign Hercules to complete 12 great labors. If he completes them and survives, Hera will allow him to live in peace. These labors include fighting powerful monsters such as the Hydra, the Erymanthian boar, and the Nemean lion. The skin of the Nemean lion is so tough that no weapon can pierce it, forcing Hercules to defeat it with his bare hands. However, the pirates do not believe Iolaus' story, thinking it is just a fabrication. At that moment, Hercules appears to rescue his nephew, wearing a helmet made from the head of the Nemean lion. The pirates are not afraid because they have 40 men, but the number means nothing to Hercules. He is capable of fighting many at once, and furthermore, he is not alone. Accompanying Hercules is a group of loyal mercenaries, including Amphiros, the prophet and warrior from Argos, Autolycus, a thief from Sparta, Tydeus, a wild warrior from Thebes, and Atalanta, an Amazonian archer from Scythia. With their coordinated effort, Hercules' team quickly defeats the pirates and rescues Iolaus. After counting the heads of the enemies to claim the reward, Autolycus advises Iolaus to exaggerate the stories about Hercules to increase his fearsome and divine reputation. Meanwhile, Amphiros sees an omen from the flames. A lion and a raven will form a strange alliance and fight on the Sea of Corpses. After a while, Hercules' team arrives at a tavern to celebrate their victory. Here, Hercules confides in Autolycus about his desire to leave for distant lands across the sea in search of peace. He plans to take Tydeus with him, as he is the only one who can control his rage. The atmosphere in the tavern suddenly falls silent when a group of soldiers enters, escorting Princess Ergenia of Thracia. The princess invites Hercules and his team to the palace to hear an offer from her father, promising a large gold reward. Iolaus saw the emblem of a raven on the guards' shields, while Hercules' emblem was a lion, the very prophecy that Amphiros had foretold. Upon arriving at the palace, Hercules cannot help but notice a large group of refugees taking shelter behind the city walls. The group is welcomed by General Sitalces, the commander of the Thracian army, who is not pleased with Hercules' presence. They also meet Princess Ergenia's son, Prince Arius, a young boy who is an avid fan of Hercules and knows all the stories about him. On their way into the palace, Hercules recalls an event from 3 years ago. When he killed the Hydra at the request of King Eurystheus of Athens, he realized that the Hydra was actually just a group of people wearing. The king then declares Hercules a hero before a huge crowd cheering his name. But this memory suddenly becomes painful when images of his wife and children being murdered flash before his eyes. Hercules tries to ignore the painful memories and focus on the present. Hercules' team meets King Cotys, the ruler of Thracia. Cotys mocks Amphiros, as his ability to foresee the future seems very limited, even unable to predict his own death. He also belittles Atalanta's skills simply because she is a woman. But Atalanta quickly proves him wrong by accurately shooting the helmets off the guards' heads. King Cotys invites Hercules' team to dinner and explains the difficult situation of the country. Thracia is falling into a civil war, with a brutal warmonger named Reesus. There are rumors that Reesus commands an army of centaurs. Cotys takes Hercules to see the refugee camps, where many people seek shelter daily after their villages were destroyed by Reesus. He also complains that most of his soldiers were lost in the war, and the current army is made up mostly of farmers. Amid Cotys and Princess Ergenia's persuasion, they emphasize their desire to bring peace to the country, which helps convince Hercules to take on the mission. The next day, Hercules and his team begin training the farmers to become soldiers. They start with an exercise to test their ability to build barricades with shields, but the results are not promising. After hours of training, Hercules has a private meeting with Cotys, who has received intelligence from a scout named Phineus. According to the information, Reesus plans to attack the Bessi tribe in central Thracia within 6 days. Cotys wants to seize this opportunity to march and stop him before he can advance further. However, Hercules disagrees with this plan, pointing out that their army needs more time to train. Nevertheless, Cotys ignores the advice and orders everyone to prepare, as they will depart the next day. That evening, after helping Atalanta deal with a situation where Sitalces was bothering her, Hercules sees Arius, Ergenia's son. The boy sneaks up to Tydeus, who is sleeping and chained to a cart to avoid causing harm. When Arius gets too close, Tydeus nearly injures the boy. Hercules quickly pulls Arius away and explains that Tydeus was born in war. When Hercules found him, Tydeus resembled more of a wild animal than a human. He had witnessed something so horrifying that he never spoke again. And every night, he relives the painful memory in his dreams. Nevertheless, Tydeus remains Hercules' most loyal warrior. Later, Hercules takes Arius back to Ergenia, who is working in the infirmary. Since the country had lost many healers, she taught herself how to treat the sick to help others. Before leaving, Hercules gives Arius a tooth from the Nemean lion, implying that this gift was meant for his own children. The next day, the army begins preparing to march. Hercules discovers that Iolaus is hiding among the soldiers, intending to join the fight. He reminded that Iolaus was a storyteller, not a warrior, then took him outside. Then, the entire team sets off for the Bessi tribe. However, when they reach the village, it is already too late. Reesus had attacked the place and destroyed everything. The scene of a sea of corpses matches the prophecy Amphiros had seen. But something is strange. While some of the bodies have clearly been decomposing for days, others are still fresh. These bodies suddenly awaken and attack, as this is actually a trap. Thinking the Bessi tribe has been controlled by Reesus, Hercules orders a shield wall to be formed around Codus while he and his team fight. The leader of the Bessi tribe challenges Hercules to a direct duel. To create a legendary impression that Iolaus can use in his story, Hercules cleverly breaks the tip of Atalanta's arrow. When the leader approaches, Hercules drives the broken arrowhead into his forehead, making everyone believe that he defeated him with a single punch. This act greatly inspires the army, making them believe the gods are on their side. The real battle begins. Hercules' team kills many of the Bessi tribe's warriors, but the enemy forces are overwhelming. And soon the shield wall is breached. They quickly come up with a simple plan. Hercules and Amphiros take the war chariots and begin driving them around the shield wall. They push back and kill the Bessi warriors. Taking advantage of this, the remaining soldiers organize a counterattack. When the Bessi warriors realize defeat is inevitable, they begin to flee. Reesus was not in sight, a distant eye watching for any shiny designs. Hercules tells Codus that the loss of half the army is also his fault, as Hercules had previously warned that the farmers were not ready to fight. Codus agrees and accepts to give the army more time to train. Meanwhile, General Siticles wants to kill Phineus for leading them into a trap. However, Autolycus intervenes and declares that from now on he will be in charge of the reconnaissance team. He also warns Phineus not to make any more mistakes. Soon after, Princess Ergenia arrives with the medical team and is brought into Hercules' private tent so no one can see him injured, a reminder that he is just a mortal. After treating his wounds, Ergenia leaves so he can rest. In his sleep, Hercules dreams of a painful memory. The corpses of his wife and children, his hands covered in blood, King Eurystheus exiling him from the land. The king did not execute Hercules but forced him to live his life in guilt for killing his own family. Hercules wakes up from his nightmare upon hearing the giggling of children. He walks into the forest to investigate and is horrified to discover the bodies of his family lying among the corpses of the tribe's warriors. On those bodies, the three-headed dog Cerberus is feeding. Hercules prepares to fight it, but Tydeus appears from behind, pulling him back to reality, helping him realize it was all just an illusion. The next morning, Amphiros immediately recognizes what has happened to Hercules, as this is not the first time. However, Hercules believes he is slowly going insane. He advises Hercules that to find peace, he must complete the final challenge and confront the beast within his mind. Princess Ergenia approaches the rest of the team to learn the truth behind the rumors. They explain that no one knows the truth. One day, they found Hercules standing alone among the corpses of his family, but he couldn't remember anything. In each subsequent adventure, he meets a member of the team and treats them with compassion, earning their loyalty. Hercules is so skilled that no one believes he is just an ordinary man. The team decides to embellish the stories to easily land more jobs. They believe what happened to Hercules might be the blood rage, a hazy mental state often experienced by warriors. From then on, Hercules and his team place Codus's army into strict training. The soldiers are equipped with armor and weapons modeled after Hercules and taught combat skills such as spear fighting, archery, swordsmanship and hand-to-hand combat. Eventually, they succeed in creating a shield wall that even Tydeus cannot break through. Meanwhile, Iolaus secretly observes from a hiding place and joins in the training. One day, Phineus returns with new intelligence. Reesus is near Mount Asticus with an army of centaurs. Hercules decides to fight him right there before he advances deeper into their territory. Although this could be a dangerous battle due to the forest slowing down the chariots, Hercules has a plan. Amphiros sadly cannot tell them whether they will win or not because he cannot see the future. He only knows that he will die within a week. A few days later, when the army is ready to fight, they arrive at Mount Asticus but find no enemy camp. However, the enemy is visible on the horizon. As they get closer, Hercules and the army realize they are not centaurs but just a group of horse riders. Reesus comes to meet Codus and Phineus, who has actually been working for the enemy all along. Codus is asked to surrender, but he refuses, and both sides prepare for battle. Cottus's army formed a shield wall and prepared to throw their spears. However, the first attackers are Atalanta and her archers, who unexpectedly appear in chariots from within the forest. They attack the enemy as they are about to approach Cottus's army. As the flaming arrows fly, Amphiaraos stretches out his arms, ready to accept his fate, but strangely, none of the arrows hit him. The battle is long and extremely tough. Although Reesus's army is larger, Hercules' troops have a better fighting formation and quickly overpower the enemy. Reesus' soldiers begin to flee, but he decides to stay and challenge Hercules to a direct duel, which turns out to be a bad idea. Hercules easily grabs Reesus's horse and throws both of them to the ground with a swift move. Sometime later, when they return to the palace with Reesus chained, Cottus begins to humiliate Reesus in front of his people, but Hercules feels pity and helps him get back on his feet. As they walk together, Reesus tries to explain that Cottus is actually a tyrant. Cottus is the one who burned all those villages, not his men. At the celebration feast, Reesus is chained to 2 posts as a trophy display. Princess Ergenia tries to bring him water, but Cottus refuses. When Cottus's coronation ceremony takes place, now that Thracia is no longer divided, Cottus becomes the king of the entire land. When Princess Ergenia leaves the room, and Hercules begins to suspect and follows her, demanding that she reveal what she knows. She admits that Reesus was right. Cottus started this war after poisoning her husband, the true king, to seize the throne. However, she didn't cooperate with Cottus because she supported her father's actions, but because Cottus had threatened to kill her son if she resisted. Ergenia tries to convince Hercules to take Arius with them when they leave, but Hercules refuses. At that moment, they are discovered by General Siticles and are told that Cottus is looking for Hercules. Hercules decides to confront Cottus, accusing him of betraying him. Cottus finds this amusing, as the mercenaries who were once willing to do anything for gold suddenly have a conscience. Cottus admits that he wants to have his own empire and invites Hercules to lead his army. However, Hercules declines the offer, and Cottus pays him and his team the agreed-upon amount before kicking them out. When they reach their chariot, Hercules gives the money to Autolycus because he wants him to stay in a safe place. Hercules does not expect his team to stay and allows them all to leave with their rewards and a better life. However, Atalanta reminds him that they are not with him out of obligation, but because they are a family. The team decides to stay and fight, except for Autolycus, who takes all the gold and leaves after calling them fools. The whole team sneaks back into the palace, but General Siticles is waiting for them and surrounds them with his army. After disarming them, he also accuses Cottus of harming Ergenia and plotting with Hercules to steal Arius from him. Cottus pulls the child from Ergenia's arms as she is captured by the soldiers. Arius tries to run for help to Hercules, secretly passing the lion's tooth back, before Cottus grabs his hair and pulls him back. Hercules was knocked unconscious and woke up after a few hours, chained to the wall and facing Cerberus. He realized that it was not a 3-headed monster, but rather 3 ordinary wolves. They belong to King Eurystheus. He is accompanying Cottus, as they have long allied to rule all of Greece together. After seeing all his friends locked in cages around him, Hercules slowly regains his memory. Cerberus had long been just an illusion in his mind. What he witnessed that night 3 years ago were the wolves attacking his family, after Eurystheus drugged his drink, rendering him helpless. Eurystheus admits this and explains that he did it because he didn't like how the people called Hercules by a name greater than his own, as if he were a god. This could have been a threat to his power, and he had to eliminate Hercules. An ambitious man can be bought, but someone like Hercules, who needs nothing, is far too dangerous. Cottus orders the soldiers to drag Ergenia out of the cage for her trial. Hercules feels useless as he can only watch. However, when Amphiaraos reminds him that everyone believes in him, and he should believe in himself, Hercules awakens and remembers who he is. He gathers all his strength to break the chains on the wall and rushes out to save Ergenia. Cottus and his team flee the room, leaving the wolves to deal with Hercules, while Ergenia uses the very axe she was about to be executed with to unlock the cages. The wolves give Hercules a hard time, biting him and injuring him in several places on his body. But one by one, Hercules defeats them and throws them aside, finishing by stabbing the last wolf with the lion's tooth. Ergenia frees the entire team, and they take the weapons left behind by Cottus' soldiers. Hercules lifted a metal door, opening the way for them to escape from the dungeon. The soldiers constantly block their path, but the team has no trouble fighting and moving forward. When a flaming spear is thrown toward them, Amphiaraos once again believes that fate has come, extending his arms to accept it. However, Hercules quickly grabs the spear, kills a guard, and saves his old friend. As the team continues to deal with the remaining soldiers, Hercules chases after Eurystheus. He begins making up all sorts of excuses to justify what happened to Hercules' family. Like how he was controlled by Cottus. Eurystheus even tries to order Hercules as a king and promises money, but Hercules doesn't care about any of it. He grabs Eurystheus by the neck, throws him onto the throne, and stabs him with his own knife, finally repaying the debt to his family. Now, he can move forward and find peace after everything. Suddenly, a whip wrapped around his neck. It was Cetalcix. He threw Hercules to the ground and prepared to kill him, but he was suddenly stabbed from behind by Iolaus. Finally, Hercules called his nephew a warrior. The two returned to the team to rescue Reesus and left the palace together. But they stopped when they saw Codus, waiting for them with his army. Arius was captured by the soldiers as a hostage, and Codus threatened to kill him if Hercules didn't surrender. Suddenly, the guards fell, instantly killed by a thrown knife. Autolycus, who had returned to help. Now free, Arius ran to his mother, and a new battle began. Tydeus rushed in to protect him from the incoming arrows. Arius safely joined them, while Tydeus defeated most of the archers but was struck by countless arrows. Meanwhile, the others knocked over oil lamps to create a wall of fire between them and Codus's army. Hercules carried Tydeus and witnessed his death after he spoke the only word he had ever uttered in his life. Hercules. Codus's army began charging as the flames died down, and Hercules saw that there was only one way to stop them. With his extraordinary strength, he pushed a massive statue of the goddess Hera off its pedestal. It shattered into hundreds of pieces, crushing many soldiers and sending Codus into the abyss. With the king's death, each soldier knelt, shouting Hercules' name, accepting him as their new leader. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss videos like this. Thank you for watching.